Hi, I'm Irene, and welcome to the Inkworks studio, where everything is sunshine and unicorns, where roses bloom from the walls and glitter sprinkles down from the ceiling, and never, I mean never, a profane word is heard. Kidding. If these walls could talk, there'd be a lot of, did you hear what she said? Actually, I was never a potty mouth until late in life. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Seriously, as a teenager, I did my rebelling by sneaking in a smoke or a drink. But F-bombs? That was a step too far. I was raised a good girl, after all. Then I hit 40, and suddenly I was all F this and F that, and I want to try weed, gosh darn it. So yeah, there are occasions when the inner language filter fails, like, for instance, when I knock over a brand new bottle of DIAMINE ink. Sure, I thought about throwing in the towel, but I'm not one to spend 2 hours listening to ABBA covers while deliberately ignoring a mess. Well, yes, at one time I was, but I'm a grown woman now, so after drying my tears, I cleaned up the spill and moved on. Because I have content to create. YouTube doesn't like a lollygagger. And, oh boy, I do not want to know the etymology of that word. The color is Sherwood green, a lovely foresty green. It's a shade I prefer over both Pelican's dark green and Diamine's green-black. And just so you know, I managed to salvage some of the spilled ink with my handy blunt end syringe. There may be a bit of desk debris mixed in now, but that's better than nothing. Well, I say that now, but wait a few weeks when I'll be all mystified over a clogged pen. The KAWECO Sport is an adorable little pen. With the wide range of colors available, I can see why people like to collect them. Now, this is KAWECO's entry-level pen. This model is referred to as the Classic Sport. There's an upgraded version, though. The All Sport is made of metal rather than plastic. I think the AL is short for aluminum. And there seems to be quite a jump in price from around $25 for the Classic Sport to around $60 for the All Sport. Of course, prices can vary from seller to seller, and sometimes deals can be found. I should point out that although the pen came with an ink cartridge, it did not include the converter or the clip. Those were purchased as separate items. It does seem like those should be included. I mean, would it be that hard to offer a complete set for, say, $30? What do you think? Is that unreasonable? Following the same process as the last entry in the Pen and Ink Logbook series, the demonstrations are on several different papers. The first is Apica's CD notebook, the regular one, not the premium one, because, budget. As always in this series, I used an entry from the Food Lover's Companion for the writing samples. My edition is like 20 years old. I understand there are several newer versions, but I really love the convenient size of this one. It takes up very little real estate on my art table or my desk. Growing up, I ate plenty of canned green beans and canned peas, both of which I formed an aversion to as an adult. So, green bean casserole wasn't something we did in my house. It wasn't until later that I discovered how yummy that quick and easy casserole was. Yep, I do enjoy it, but I think it's so much better using fresh or at least frozen green beans. I once managed to convince producer Mike to make it that way. I thought it was worth the extra steps, but he was unimpressed. So canned green beans is now set in stone. What do you think? Are you team canned or team frozen? Gotta admit, I'll add frozen peas to just about anything: salad, soup, curry, fried rice, etc. In fact, I want to try making the British dish, mushy peas. Or at least I did until I found out they use something called dried marrow fat peas that require soaking for 12 hours before you even start cooking. That's a level of food craft I don't want to commit to. I don't even know where to get marrow fat peas here in the US. Regarding casseroles, as a kid, I detested tuna casserole. It wasn't until I was an adult that I found out my mom had been making it wrong. Her tuna casserole was dry and lacked flavor, and that's because it was missing the most crucial ingredient. No, not the tuna, the canned cream of mushroom soup. That's right, another thing we didn't keep in the house. I can't tell you how many times I sat and picked at my plate of pasta, tuna, and onions while thinking, man, this could really use something. So the first time I had a real tuna casserole at a friend's house, I was blown away. All thanks to that magical meal saver, condensed cream of mushroom soup. Tuna casserole hasn't been in our dinner rotation for a while, but these days I like to add a can of mushroom soup to our spaghetti sauce. Because it stretches the sauce and it tastes good, yes, but mainly because I can't handle tomatoey things like I used to. It's a good way to neutralize an acidic sauce while adding creaminess. Oh, I also add a splash of soy sauce for extra umami, but only a few drops, mind. This is all starting with jarred tomato-based pasta sauce or marinara. There are other ways to reduce acidity if making your sauce from scratch, and that starts with the sort of tomatoes you select. This is the Rhodia Reverse book. To those wondering about the practicality of a compact pen like this, I can say that with the cap posted, it was comfortable in my hand. The writing experience was pleasant, and I didn't encounter any negative performance issues. In fact, the only negative I can think of has to do with the appearance, and it's a minor thing at that. On the grip section, there's a visible seam in the plastic. It's just a reminder that this is an inexpensive pen. Look, it's one thing to feel cheap. It's a whole nother thing to look cheap. For some perspective, though, I haven't heard anyone else complain about it, so I'm probably just being super nitpicky. This is Claire Fontaine's basic notebook. Sure, I have poor vision and sometimes miss things, even when using a magnifier, but if you put a seam on my section, watch out. I had some small concerns about using an extra fine nib, and that's because some of my pens have fine nibs that are almost too fine for me. It's a general rule of thumb, though. that Western nibs don't run as small as their Eastern counterparts. So this German-made extra fine struck me as what I would expect from an Asian fine. Another concern was the size of the converter. It's small. But then I realized I kinda like switching out inks. So at the moment, I don't see that being a problem. Of course, time will tell. The last sample is on Tomoe River paper. For this, I used my Kakimori brass nib, only because I want this notebook to have consistent samples using the same pen for all of the inks. Yeah, this notebook is a bit precious to me. Firstly, it was a gift, and secondly, it's the only Tomoe River paper I have right now. This paper is on my wish list, though, so I'll try to get more. Lest you think I'm the worst sort of daughter that goes around trash-talking her mother's cooking, I'll point out that in previous videos, I've mentioned happy food memories from my childhood. In fact, I frequently kick myself for not taking note of her methods when I had the chance. Here you get a good look at the sheening property in this Sherwood green. That red on green action is so cool, and it shows especially well on this Tomoe River paper. My mother came from Japan, and I fondly recall her homemade pickles and onigiri. Her delicious takes on Western foods such as potato fritters, hamburger rice, and tacos were highlights from my childhood. So just because she didn't know all of the Campbell's cheats doesn't mean she was a bad cook. Now, ketchup on scrambled eggs, ugh, that's debatable. I'm happy to share this pen and ink logbook session. So happy, in fact, that I'm not going to swear again over the ink lost in that spill, because my mom raised me right, with plenty of chicken and dumpling soup, beef and cabbage stir-fry, pancakes the size of dinner plates, red bean soup with mochi. Until next time, stay artsy, my friends.